So you want to leave your country, you want to go to Canada, you want to go to the States, you want to go to Australia, you want to go to the UK, who knows? You just want to go and make a better life for yourself. If this is you, this is a video for you. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Jude, and I'm glad that you're here with me wherever you're watching this from. So, I'm going to talk about life in the diaspora. Okay, why? Because I've found it lately that there's a lot of people are very curious and are really interested in moving from whichever countries that you're from to go to these Western countries for a better life. I mean, right now the world is in tatters. Most economies are not doing well, so people are just looking out for, better opportunities elsewhere. But I've found out that most agents who facilitate this immigration, this trade, so to speak, never really tell people the full story. You just see the big, wonderful billboard or advertisement that, hey, we're looking for workers in, say, UK or whatever, and you're excited, you apply, and you just hop on a plane, you look for money, you get loans, and you sell off your assets. You go to a country that you don't know much about. You don't really know what it is actually to live there. So this is me trying to at least open up your eyes. Through me, I'm just going to give you my experiences. So who am I? As I've told you, my name is Jude. I've been living in Canada for the last 8 years, and I'm just trying to do justice because I see some people who come to these countries and they thinking that they're going to get, uh, you know, they think that they're going to get a really good life, like the American dream, the Canadian dream, the Australian dream, whatever dream you have, only to come here and get nightmares. So this is just to equip you, to prepare you so that you can be informed and learned about what it is that you're getting yourself into. So this is a video for the poor who are curious, for the poor intending to immigrate, you know, even for the Canadians, the locals, the Western people, the Canadians, the Americans, the Australians. If you're curious about the day-to-day lives about your immigrant neighbor, that neighbor from Nigeria, that neighbor from Kenya, that neighbor from India, Philippines, from Salvador, from Brazil, because the immigrant experience is the same. It's usually the same. Most of us go through the same problems, the same issues. Although, and just to kick off this video about today's topic, not all immigrants are the same, though. you know Technically speaking, they are really not all the same, and I'm going to break that down for today's video. So what do I mean about this? So sorry, I just wrote down some few things here just to guide this presentation, and I'm going to show you that whenever you see people abroad or whatever, they're not all the same. They're all not there for the same purpose. They don't have the same standard or quality of life. Although if you fit in these different categories, they tend to have the same standards. And let me just break that down a little bit further. So you have your students. I fall into this category, by the way. But I'm going to expound even more about students. So you have people who come here maybe for high school studies, undergrad studies, postgrad studies. You have your people who are doing research for their thesis or whatever, so the PhD guys and the masters. And you have exchange students. Maybe your university has a program which allows you, say, to take a semester or so in a foreign country, which can happen to be UK, Germany, or whatever. So you have this category of people. And even within students, we have different, they're all not the same, because just to give Canada as an example, um, students are allowed, for example, to work for 20 hours a week. You know, that can earn you a few dollars here to, for pocket money and maybe pay your rent or whatever. But there is another set of students who are called co-op students. They have co-op programs. These are co-op programs are almost like back in Kenya, for example. There are some courses whereby you need to do an internship with a company to fulfill part of your coursework, right? So in Canada, it has the same thing. So say someone who's coming here to do medicine, there is a part of your studies, maybe the final year or so, you have to actually go and work. and that one will actually allow you to get that work experience. And those students are different from the regular students because they actually get privileges as uh, an immigrant who's come here on a work visa, because the government will allow them to work for whatever amount of time because it's part of their coursework. So not all students are the same, so you can't compare them. So these are things to know. And at a later video, I'm going to really just nail this down and really go step by step on what I really mean by the differences. And but I want to make this video short, so I'm not going to really go into details, or it's going to be like a whole hour. So I'll go to the next category of immigrants. So you have the temporary foreign workers and the permanent workers. Just as the name says, these are people who come to Canada, for example, for work. Now, this program has not is usually situational. It depends with where the economy of the country is at. For example, the temporary workers program, I remember in Canada, it was introduced during COVID. During that time, a lot of people went out of work. That was the time when a lot of people were working from home. And there were these quote unquote undesirable jobs that many Canadians didn't want to take up because people were staying home. The government was giving them stimulus checks. So guys were like, hey, why should I go back and work at a McDonald's, for minimum wage, yet the government is going to pay me $2,000, just to sit at home. So a lot of people left the workforce. So what did the government do? They introduced a program that allowed for some specific companies, especially those ones that are deemed essentially the economy. So agriculture, I think medicine, construction. So these companies could hire people from outside the country. They would come in, and of course they'll be granted, full working rights in the country. So that's another category of people. Now, understand if you're intending to come, you always have this question. Sometimes I'm always asked, oh, look for a job for me, get me a job out there. It's not that simple, guys. It's really not that simple. There's something called LMIA. That is the Labor Market Impact Assessment. A company to hire anyone from outside the country has to prove that there's no Canadian or a permanent resident within the country itself that can take up that job before they can pick you who's out there. So I cannot just go, even if my company is, even if the say the company that I'm working for is actually hiring people. I, for example, can't just go and tell my, say, a sister or brother back in Kenya, be like, hey, yo, apply for this job. They're not going to give it to him. They're not going to give it to her because it just doesn't work that way. They're very strict when it comes to the labor, uh, with the labor market, especially now when the cost of living right now is very high. A lot of people don't have jobs right now, so they're even more strict. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that program has actually ended. I think it's only open for very specific and particular sectors in the economy. Like I know in the medical sector, they are always having that special program that they have because it's a welfare economy out here, so they always need to bring in people for to take care of the old and the sick and such and such. So those are the foreign workers basically. So the third category, I would put the refugees and the asylum seekers. And again, as the name says, these are people who are coming in because they are fleeing oppression, they are fleeing war, they are fleeing famine. Something. The whole gist is that you have to prove that your life is a danger from wherever you're coming from. So for example, what's happening in the Ukraine. So for example, the East people from Ukraine get this benefit. You know, what's happening in Sudan. If you're Sudanese, you can claim asylum. So it's only you really have to prove this. You can't just come out there because you can't tell them that, oh, I'm broke, that's why I want to come to Canada. No, they'll be like, no, you have to show that your life is a danger. So this is the other category, right? The next category, these are the high net worth people. I'll put them in one category: high net worth, business people, and artists, right? these are people who tend to bring they tend to create like a microeconomy around themselves. Like a businessman will open a shop or a store, of course he's going to employ 5 or 10 people, right? So these immigrants are, like I would say, they have these economic visas, right? So long as you invest a certain amount of money to the economy, yeah, the government will have you. The country will welcome you with open arms because you're contributing to the economy. You have to remember, guys, most immigration systems in this country, it's almost like a reverse, and it's a really terrible term to put it this way, but it's like a reverse brain drain. They want the best people out there here. They want people who can contribute to the economy. They want people who can, buff up the coffers of the country, right? They want people who can pay taxes to take care of their aging population. That is, in summary, the core of the immigration system. So you look at yourself, you see where you fit in. Okay, and I'll go for the last three categories. We have the au pair or the caregivers. So basically, these are people, again, this is surrounding the health sector, the welfare system of the country. So these countries, the Western countries in general, tend to have a higher population. If you look at the population distribution pyramids, they tend to have a higher population on the older end. And most of these people, the retirees and such, most of them, a big portion of them tend to need special care because the mortality rates here are not that high compared to Africa. People here live longer. So the longer they live in their latter years, they need to be taken care of. And who's going to take care of these people? It is you, right? So they're going to bring you in, take care of the old people, right? Or you come in, work, pay taxes to pay for someone who's going to take care of the old people. That's just how it works. Then, now, the last two categories of people, actually, I'll just put this in one category. These are the family members of anyone in these other categories that I've just mentioned. So the spouses, the parents, the grandparents, the children, or any dependents. The law will allow you, usually, in most instances, for you, whenever you're applying for yourself to come here, you can apply for your dependents and your parents, but there are some steps that you have to follow. Not everyone gets this privilege. You really have to show some proof. You have to show that you can take care of them. You have to show that they would not be a liability for the economy. So yeah, you really have to read into the fine print on what it takes for you to bring your family over here. So guys, this is, that was just like a brief introduction to, I guess, what I'll be talking about in this series. I want to give you guys the best outlook as possible, because there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of ignorance out there. Things are not the way they seem. So I hope that in these next few videos in this series, that I can at least open up your eyes a little bit, get informed on what it really means, or what life is really like on the ground, because it's really not all roses. The grass is not always green on the other side. And my advice, honestly, for those who are thinking of leaving their countries, if you already have something good going on, you have a decent job, you have your piece of land, you have your home, man, don't leave. Don't leave your country. Trust me, you might regret it. Don't leave. If you leave, you really have to get some assurances. You really have to get some guarantees that whatever you're going to do is actually going to be worth it and better than what you already have going on at home. And as we go on, I will expound much more on this topic, but I'll leave it at that for now. And thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe. Once again, my name is Jude. Thank you. May God bless you. Bye.